Good morning, Miracle Swingers. I wanted to do a quick video today. My next edited video, and it takes, it takes many, many hours to make a YouTube video, is going to be the driver section of me working on the Hogan roll. Now, in the past, I'd always talked about the Hogan roll as just on the downswing, pulling and twisting. But now what I'm working on is actually rolling the face open on the backswing and then allowing it to roll back closed on the downswing. And I had some great results on the driving range, but I drilled it. Yesterday, I went out and I played in the skins game, and I won most everything. But I will tell you that I almost made a hole in one on a par three, and I went back to my old swing. I had wind from the left, and my regular swing is a draw. So I held the ball up against the wind, and it hit about 1 or 2 feet from the cup, and I had a 3-foot putt for birdie. So that was one of my 2 skins. So at any rate, guys, this is a Q&A. If you have any questions, I'm going to be talking about 2 primary subjects. The first is what I believe you have to do to get really good at golf. And then the second subject is going to be my thoughts on the LIV Golf Tour. So just to get started, the main thing I've learned this year since I started the over-the-top miracle swing was it's okay. You have the first thing you absolutely have to be a decent golfer is you have to be able to hit the ball solid. Okay. And you have to be able to trust what you're doing out on the golf course. So if you can't hit the ball solid, you're not really playing golf. Okay. But the thing that I learned, because my ball striking this year has been the best and most consistent of all years of my swing evolution, because of the over the top miracle swing, I realized playing against the top guys, the next thing is for me to get great at 50 yards and in. And so I've been working on this since July. And when I went out and played with my friend Peter the other day, he's a PGA professional. He was surprised because I had 3 pitch shots that were, I mean, every shot's important, but I gotten up and down on these 3 pitch shots. One I converted for a birdie, and 2 were clutch pars after mishit shots. And it just pays off. It just pays off so big time to have a good short game. And when I started working on my short game, it was mostly bump and runs and short chips and low running shots, which I recommend everybody. You have to own those. And then I started to work on higher shots and more technical shots, you know. But the point that I'm going to make you is something strange happened in my psyche. I started to not be afraid in the fairway. There's kind of this thing. It's like, say you've got a 7-iron in on, you've got a decent hole or whatever, and you're like, okay, I got to hit this green. I'm not so afraid of missing the green. I actually feel like when I do miss a green, I'm like, all right, I get to show off my short game. And I think that that's something that the good players, the pros that I play with, they exhibit. They don't sweat at all when they miss a green. They probably miss 5 or 6 around, and they're not sweating it. And then they're also pouring birdies in on top of it. So the one thing I've learned about really getting good at golf this year is, you have to be great at short game. And now, okay, let me break this down one more way real quick. We know that half your strokes occur from something like 75 yards and in. Definitely 100 yards and in. I think I've heard like 2/3 of your strokes are from 100 yards and in. Tiger Woods, Bryson DeChambeau, they don't have any advantage over you from 100 yards and in. You could literally, even if you don't hit the ball very far, you could challenge Bryson DeChambeau and Tiger Woods to golf. There's nothing stopping anyone from being a master of wedges and short game. So that's the crazy reality of it. But, Gary Player said, I could let you drive every tee shot and I'll still shoot under 76, no matter how bad an amateur you are. And I think that's the truth. But he said, I could let an amateur play from where I drive the ball and they're still going to shoot the same score. So that's basically it. Nobody, I don't want to talk for anybody else, but I'm going to talk from my point of view. I ignored short game and wedges for 10 years of my swing evolution. All I was focused on was just trying to become a master ball striker. And mastery is not there, but I'm much, much better. But to be honest, as a golfer, I'm more of a real golfer since I've started to focus 70% of my work on short game. So, okay, so I've got a couple of questions here. Chris, so I've just found your channel and the Hogan swing has made me love hitting balls again. So thank you. The Hogan swing changed my life. I'm doing the over-the-top miracle swing. It's built on a chassis of my 10 years of Ben Hogan work, or 12 years of working on the Ben Hogan swing mechanics. And now it's like, I'll tell you, the thing that kept me from getting to that was all this BS that I see on the web and online. I fell for it. Oh, you got to take the club up and then drop it under in transition. You have to roll it back. You have to all that stuff. I'm not saying you can't play that way, but it set me back. It set me back years. I played my best golf 2014 to 2016 until I started taking some lessons that kind of changed everything. God bless every teacher in the world, but yeah. Journey golf. I got a good thought. Try rolling your right foot. It helps gain rotation in your swing and helps me a lot. My right foot kept coming up way too early. You might want to try it, Christo. Journey golf, rolling the foot. So early in my swing evolution, my my heel would pop off the ground as soon as I got in transition. And I call that my Michael Jackson move. As soon as I pull it, that heel would pop up. So I do try and I did spend many years rolling through my trail foot. And now that I'm swinging a little harder, I'm letting it come up a little bit sooner, but it's not nearly as bad as the old Michael Jackson days. Okay, so that's the reality of getting better at golf, is become a master with your wedges and shine up your short game. My deal is when I do hit balls, I spend the majority of my time hitting wedges. Then I'll hit some short irons. Maybe I hit a few, like a half a dozen 5 and 6 irons, and then it's like driver. So driver is the one club. Driver and wedges. You get those, and the rest of your game will kind of take care of itself. So now let's talk about LIV golf. I've not talked about this subject because there's so much politics and people just are losing their mind. Today, now it's not so bad, but I'll tell you, 6 months ago, people get so emotional, and that's okay. I mean, people get emotional on the golf course and start cursing and throwing golf clubs. I don't do that either. But when it comes to LIV, a lot of people, it's so funny that the different arguments that I would hear, but I'm going to give you my thoughts on it from the 30,000 foot perspective. I believe I'll talk about the negative. The biggest negative of LIV golf for me is that there will no longer be the PGA standard. And what I mean by that is Tiger Woods and Sam Snead are tied at 82 PGA Tour wins. That's not going to mean as much anymore. The PGA leader in tour wins, so-and-so won 5 events this year. That's not going to mean very much anymore. The circuit of, you've got the majors, and then you've got the Players Championship, the Memorial, all these tournaments. It weakens everything at the highest levels of golf because you don't have the majority of the best players all in one location. So that's the primary negative, having grown up with there only being the PGA Tour. That's the one thing that I find is a little bit sad to deal with. Now, I'm going to talk about the positives, and I think that there's a lot of positives. My friends that are professional golfers all love LIV Golf. The main reason why is because there's more room for professional golfers in the world. The LIV Golf, I don't know what the number is, but I'm going to estimate. Let's say all the total purses for golf in the world was $100 million. Now the total purses is probably at least doubled. Like literally the money in professional golf has doubled just from LIV being in golf. Okay. So the money's doubled. There's a whole lot more room for professional golfers now. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing that LIV did was it forced the PGA Tour's hand in a few different areas that I've shook my head for years and wondered about. The first one is most if you go and play in a PGA Tour event before now, if you lose, you're out money. Like I heard it's like $7,000. You have to travel, you have to get your hotel, and I don't know if there's entry fees or what there was, but if you didn't make the cut, you were out money out of your pocket. I think that's kind of BS. PGA Tour for decades ago should have been like, hey, if you're on the tour, just make it to the tournament. Okay. There should be a stipend, for your hotel room and stuff like that. They were supposedly independent contractors, right? So this brings up the second problem that I have is when Phil Mickelson would play in the match or Bryson DeChambeau would play in the long drive competition, they'd have to pay the PGA Tour $1 million per event to step outside and do those events. So they're independent contractors when they don't make the cut, but they're not independent contractors when they want to play in another event. So I think that's not cool at all. So, it's kind of like how the NCAA just has a lockdown on everything and they make all this money on these amazing athletes. And, God bless you. If you get hurt your senior year, you're not making the pros and you don't make a penny, but they're making billions, it's kind of that thing. So that brings up the next thing that I find. And, I really I think that pro golfers should be able to play anywhere they want. The Owens, the world golf rankings, I think they really need to talk to LIV and stop trying to push them down the world golf rankings. LIV's not going anywhere, and if LIV grows, it's just not good for the world of golf if you've got all these great golfers that are with LIV now and they're not getting into the biggest events, they're not getting into the majors. I think the majors should be sacrosanct. They should be up there at the top, and all the greatest golfers in the world should have an equal chance to be able to play in those events. I think that's what has to happen. So that's another thing about what LIV has done that I think needs to be addressed. And let's see here. So Andy, I'll get to your question after I've finished my thoughts on LIV. So, okay. So LIV is letting people wear shorts. I thought I wasn't going to like that. and now I do. I think it's kind of crazy to be playing, in 100-degree heat in long pants. So there's a lot of cool things that they're doing. Um, I wonder, is 3 days enough? I think it's enough to determine a winner, but it's very different. It's certainly a lot different than 4 days. But I don't know. But I will say one thing. Now, this is my last point about LIV that I'd like to make. And this was the cudgel. This was how the people who were against LIV were bludgeoning everyone when the subject of LIV would come up. They'd be like, it's a Saudi Arabian tour. It's, blah, 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 and human rights abuses and all that. I'm not for human rights abuses, okay? But the PGA Tour is in league with all these sponsors who work with Saudi Arabia, right? And the communist Chinese, right? So what's the deal? And if you want to talk human rights abuses, we've had several wars and things that, could be questionable. So, I mean, it's a terrible thing. I just wish politics at the end of the day would stay out of golf. So that's my thoughts on that. So Andy asked me, do I keep my weight centered with my miracle swing? Yes, I do. With my wedges, I do. I'm probably 60-40. I'm more weight on my front leg. But basically from 8-iron on down, I keep my weight centered. And then Jason talks about LIV. So yeah, LIV will appeal to people because they have another format, like the popularity of the silly season. It's interesting. That's interesting for sure. LIV just is a different flavor of the sport. So now, let's see here, my friend John. John, how are you, brother? One of the best golf swings I've ever had at one of my intensives. Honored to work with you. Yeah, the majors need to be the standard, John. I think that this, Cameron going to LIV was a big, big deal, man. That was a really big deal. So the PGA Tour broke away from the PGA Tour of America in the late 60s for larger purses. Simply history repeating itself. John, that's a great point. So John says the PGA Tour of America in the late 60s. Okay. The PGA Tour broke away from the PGA Tour of America in the late 60s for larger purses. So history repeats itself. I think that we want pro golf. The more pro golf, the better, right? Would we want to say, oh, let's get rid of pro golf? Like, imagine it was pre-LIV and I said, you know what? We're going to cut the number of tournaments in the PGA Tour in half. We'd be like, no, you don't want less pro golf. You want more pro golf. It's more opportunities for the finest players in the world. Okay, LIV is a contract only tour. How does that open up professional golf? It's a closed or invite only golf because there's room for more golfers. The PGA Tour is going to be the same size, and now there's a whole nother thing. PGA Tour is a true meritocracy where you can play your way onto the tour. Oh, okay. I think that this is a very, very fair point. Okay, so it's the argument of meritocracy versus an agent-driven sport. Okay, so say for example, we're talking about, the NBA. There's no way to measure yourself in the NBA. They've all got agents and they get these contracts. You're invited onto a team. What makes golf beautiful is the fact that, like, say the US Open, you can go and local qualify, get through sectionals and go play in the US Open. That's kind of how the PGA Tour is. But I'll make one point about the PGA Tour throughout history. I've known a lot of guys that maybe could have made the PGA Tour, but it's so darn expensive to try and make the tour that they never really got an equal shot as other people who maybe had sponsors for $250,000 to be out and go play in all the qualifiers and do everything you have to do to make the tour. So it's a meritocracy if you've got the money. So, okay. Going back to weight distribution, just had a lesson with an instructor and had me moving my weight forward to keep from hitting it fat and stop flipping. Thoughts? Now, are you talking weight forward towards your toes or weight forward towards the target? We always have to be going this way, you know. Now, long drivers are actually they're so pressed off of their front leg that their front leg is weightless when they hit the ball, you know. So but we definitely don't want our weight going backwards, because it is very likely that your center of gravity. So for me, the low point in my golf swing is very associated with my center of gravity. Say this fist is my center of gravity and this is the low point of my club. Okay, I want my center of gravity to move forward so that the bottom of my swing goes forward so I can hit down on an iron. Okay, if I'm hitting a driver, I want the ball to be up here. So basically the bottom of my swing arc is going to be where my center of gravity is. So that's why the average tour player has a 4-inch shift towards the target with their center of gravity during the course of the golf swing. So I hope that answers your question, Ron. Guys, I love you. Pick up MSE TV, guys, if you want to support me and my channel. I'm working on all sorts of things for Christmas. If you're a member of MSE TV, you will get the 2-part full instruction series, the Over the Top Miracle Swing and the Miracle Method. Okay, these are the big productions I've been working on this whole year, and I'm planning on debuting them the week of Black Friday. And if you're a member of MSE TV, you get it automatically. Okay, so guys, I love you, and I will talk to you later. Hit them long and hit them straight.